Okay, Demon here, and I've got a nice, juicy Twitter thread to go through. Twitter thread to go through here. This is some good SJW on SJW violence, rhetorical violence maybe. They eat their own. That's what they do. They eat their own. This is Nadiji Green. She is, let's see, a reporter at WLRN covering social justice issues for South Florida's NPR station, formerly of the Miami Herald. I'm going to follow her. She's probably just has a wealth of material for me to do other videos on. A group of black students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High, that's where David Hogg is from, where the shooting occurred, called a press conference today to say they have concerns that may not mirror those of their white peers and that the media should listen. The media should listen. Now, there's a growing divide in this March for Our Lives movement here, gun control movement, that it's too white. So these lovely ladies would like to change that. Let's see what they're saying. Kai says, while some might feel comfort to have more police officers at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, he does not. He says it's intimidating and that black students will face most of the consequences of an over-militarized, predominantly white school. Well, he's scared of white people, white cops particularly, even though the statistics show that once pulled over, a white man actually has a higher probability of being shot by a cop than a black man does, and that most shootings, in pure numbers, white men get killed. But when you go to the inner city, most of the gun violence is black on black violence, black people killing other black people. But that's okay because Trump, he wants to arm teachers, not cops, and the cops in Broward County proved that they're completely worthless. They hide outside the school when a shooting is going on. That's what they did. So Kai here, he doesn't want cops because he says black people are afraid of cops. Taya Amoy, a Marjorie Stoneman Douglas student, said conversations about gun violence have to include police violence. She asked the same people who showed up for March for Our Lives, will they show up for Stephon Clark, Alton Sterling, Sandra Bland? I don't know. That's a good question, Taya. A very good question. That's why you should arm teachers instead. You know, because they're not cops. Unless you're afraid of your teachers. About 8 media organizations covered this press conference, most of them local. One student said the school's black students are not being represented. She peered into the news camera and said, well, here we are. Do you see us? Alright, there is a tweet here by concerned white woman. She's a disabled artist, photographer. I have a heart condition myself. I never put disabled. I don't want anyone ever knowing about it. Well, except for you, of course. I just told you, but I'm here to be honest. She's a writer, educator, Reiki. What the hell is that? Urban farmer activist. She's an urban farmer. That's what yuppies are into. Living in LA. She eats trolls for breakfast. Oh, okay, like online trolls. All right. So she doesn't, look for breakfast under a bridge or anything. We also haven't heard from neurodivergent. That's a new word to me. I'm assuming that's autistic people. And special, she puts it in quotes, special ed students from Marjorie High who are being stigmatized, feared, and blamed when society doesn't hold violent white men accountable. Okay, well, violent white men accountable. I don't see why she has to point out the race there of violent white men. It's like would she ever talk about the extreme violence in black urban areas and the numbers, the disastrous numbers of black on black violence in these urban centers like Detroit, Chicago, Philadelphia, New Orleans, St. Louis. But I think what she's trying to say in plain English is that you don't want to, autistic and special ed kids, people think they're weird and that they might automatically be shooters, stigmatized as shooters, which is really all she had to say to make her point instead of polluting it with this race and gender baiting crap. Josh here says, I was right there with you until the holding violent white men accountable thing. Allison, where is the lie? Who said anything about lying? Good point. Don't understand your question. You have a problem with her saying violent white men. What's the problem with that? Well, if you were a white man, what if I said violent white woman? Violent people named Allison Britt. It has nothing to do with the first part of her tweet, he's right, which is important and doesn't have anything to do with race. Introducing race deflects from the problem she's outlining. Again, he's right. Special ed students get unfairly stigmatized as potential killers, and that's a problem, period. It's a very good tweet. I'm going to give you a like on that, Josh. Agreed, white men are disproportionately the one committing domestic terrorism and mass shootings. Race absolutely has something to do with the domestic extremism and violence, and it's apologists to not acknowledge the overwhelming whiteness of mass shooters. That's and serial killers. That's fine. You can say that, but these same people, like Amanda here, they go crazy when rational people try to point out the patterns that lead up to Islamic violence and radicalized domestic terrorism, or, as I mentioned before, black on black violence in urban cities. She would go crazy. This dirt biking white princess here, or mountain biking, I don't know. Okay, bike culture. Stay for the profanity. Right. I think I replied to this one. Yes, I did. Except in major American cities where blacks are exterminating each other and inflating most of the gun violence numbers. Ooh, yeah, that's a little salty. I haven't read the rest of these, so this is going to be fun. It's uncharted territory. Mujahid Kobe. It's because their message doesn't toe the line. If you do not call for complete gun bans, the media journalist at CNN doesn't care. Ah, look at that. Little based comment there by Mujahid. The MSD students haven't called for complete gun bans. No, they just demonize NRA members as child murderers and Republicans as stupid fuckers. The Parkland students have, the only ones on TV. Ah. And she posts a meme, except they haven't, or a picture here. Those who think I want to repeal the Second Amendment, stop falling for NRA's fear-mongering. I don't trust him at all. You ban the tactical rifles, then when those are banned, you ban the semi-automatic pistols, and when those are banned, you register what's legally left to pick up, and after registration comes confiscation. That's been their plan for decades. You listen to them, that's their roadmap. That is what has happened in the UK, what has happened in Australia, and what has continued to happen throughout history, and what will always happen if you give up an inch to these gun grabbers. And at the March for Our Lives protest, there was a woman there who said, give us an inch and we will take a mile. Give us that bump stock ban and we will take a mile. So clearly, they want more than they let on. Who said repeal? They haven't repeated calls for assault weapon bans, semi-automatic bans, etc., no matter how you want to spin it. They have. Yes, they have. You are the man. You're going to get a retweet, boy. Assault automatic weapon ban is not a complete ban, kind of by definition. Well, there's the whole slippery slope argument, and you people never fully announce your end goal. No, a complete gun ban would be all guns, not some guns. Okay, they're playing semantics here. These are not honest people. NYU alum. Definitely can't trust her. Probably a fake geek girl. She puts geek in her profile. Erstwhile. Don't trust anyone that uses the word erstwhile. Let's, ooh, we got more in here. Let's see here. Who said repeal? Yep. Not a complete gun ban. Not sure where this would apply to me. Apologies. Okay, I get it. Here, Mojo, keep this handy. Looks like you might need to share it. The secret government naval intelligence officer who predicted 9/11 wrote this in 1991. The government encouraged the manufacture and importation of military firearms for the criminals to use. This is intended to foster a feeling of insecurity, which would lead the American people to voluntarily disarm themselves by passing laws against firearms, using drugs and hypnosis on mental patients in a process called Orion. I'm familiar. If you've seen those old CIA videos or something from Lost or the movie Scanners, which is an awesome movie with Michael Ironside, David Cronenberg, the guys with their eyelids taped open and they have to watch all these images on a film screen. It's crazy. It's like mind control. That's Orion. The CIA inculcated the desire in these people to open fire on schoolyards. This plan is well underway and so far is working perfectly. The middle class is begging the government to do away with the Second Amendment. It sounds a little too conspiratorial for my taste, but when you don't enforce the law properly, as the government does not do, as they did not do in Broward, the FBI knew about Cruz, they didn't go after him. The shooter, the Islamic shooter of the Fuel nightclub, his father was an FBI informant, and he, because of him, they didn't arrest the Fuel shooter. The FBI has failed over and over again on stopping these shooters and these bombers. Timothy McVeigh, the FBI, he was known to the FBI. The guy who shot up the Majority Whip, Steve Scalise, the Bernie supporter, he was on the FBI radar. All these people are on the FBI radar, and they never seem to be caught. And I guess we'll learn more about the Vegas shooter, but they've been very quiet and secretive about him. So the lack of enforcement and a corrupt government can certainly lead to people feeling the need for gun control because they don't feel safe. I don't know if it's intentional or not by the government. I need more evidence on that. Why the citizens need to be armed in the first place? You still want to protect yourself from the British Army? Ratilda here is a moron. It's about protecting ourselves if needed from our own government. If they become tyrannical, it's about protecting ourselves from an invading force should our standing army fall. And it's just about protecting our own property as individuals. Oh, hey, she said it, I didn't. Major cunt. So, 1 second here. I'm going to, I gotta reply to this woman. Ah, crap. A good old quote here from Thomas Jefferson. The Constitution of most of our states and of the United States assert that all power is inherent in the people, that they may exercise it by themselves, that it is their right and duty to be armed at all times. She probably won't like that. She'll Why don't you open fire on them now? Because they are currently not doing anything to harm me. I bet you don't even know what the Mulford Act was. Well, this could be some good stuff. Okay, so what will be the trigger that convinces you to open fire on police officers, state troopers, or National Guard troops when they come for me? That's okay. Hey, it's honest, and that's pretty straightforward. So if you are a suspect in a crime due to unfortunate resemblance to the perpetrator, you will open fire? This country has judged me as a criminal since I was in the womb because my mother dared to cross an imaginary border. I have a clean record, and my only crime will be speaking the truth when telling the truth becomes a crime, not if, when. Look, whatever he's saying, whatever his reasons, he has a right. If he's a citizen, he has a right to own a firearm. Whatever his reasons, he has a right. So, imaginary border, whatever, I disagree with that. But if he supports the Second Amendment, I support him. Assault weapons ban plus ban on weapons of mass destruction equal complete ban in your eyes. Maybe you need to get your eyes checked. Okay. Alright, whatever. He's comparing assault weapons to chemical weapons and nuclear weapons. And what is wrong with banning those? That is the whole friggin' point, to ban assault weapons. You feel it's an issue taking assault weapons off the market? Why? You don't need them. Oh, that's certainly a matter. That's up for debate for sure. I don't need them. Nobody needs them unless they are in the military. No. The whole point of the Second Amendment is for these individual citizens to be armed so that we don't necessarily need such a huge standing army. I mean, the founders of our Constitution, they seriously debated whether we should even have a standing army. Hitler didn't invade Switzerland because they have such a high rate of ownership among their citizenry, and they're such skilled riflemen. I mean, so if the Nazi war machine had second thoughts about invading Switzerland because of their trained population, the Second Amendment is really the best form of defense a population has to defend themselves against an invading or tyrannical force. And it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. NRA is very good at slogans. Known as saying ban all guns. Lie. It's absolutely what you want. Banning semi-auto rifles is not a complete gun ban. That leaves out bolt action, pump and lever action long guns, and revolvers, and semi-auto pistols. Well, semi-auto pistols is the very next thing you'll go for. In Columbine, there was a semi-auto rifle ban, and they used semi-auto pistols. And after Columbine, these types of people, wanted semi-auto pistols banned. How dare they? After getting almost killed, they should wait until they're dead to call for a ban of the weapons. No, they should actually focus on what could stop a shooter from shooting them up in the first place. Increase federal funding for mental health. Bring back insane asylums. And arm teachers when they meet certain training and qualifications and pass certain background checks, rigorous background checks, and have been teachers for a certain period of time. I don't know, 3-5 years. Then you arm them. And also, for the love of God, don't have a police force that hides outside when the kids are getting shot up inside the school. That Sheriff Israel is a real scumbag and a coward. Alright, let's look at more replies here. You're a liar, plain and simple. You did. You said complete gun ban. Alright, so this is pretty interesting here. They're going back and forth, semantics. We don't want to ban all guns. We just want to ban some guns. We never said we want to ban all guns. We don't want to repeal the Second Amendment. Don't believe them. Don't. They're liars. They want to ban semi-automatic rifles now. They'll want to ban semi-automatic pistols later, and then they'll move on to semi-automatic shotguns. And then to get rid of the remaining revolvers, lever guns, and pump-action shotguns, they will register them, and then they will confiscate them. That is what happens with every gun control movement. It is about control. That is all it is about. But anyways, there's a divide forming between the black students and the white students. There's a political movement saying the gun control movement is too white. It needs more black faces. This is getting to be rather entertaining for all the wrong reasons. Oh, here we go. Let's see what this woman's got to say. Who said repeal? Oh, wait, I saw this one already. Gotta go in here. Gotta see some more. Come on, there's gotta be some better tweets. It's kind of hard for me to figure out. Twitter here, I'll get better at it. I don't usually go through tweets like this. Yep. Yep, I don't think racial issues should be included. Oh, here we go. Although I understand, I don't think racial issues should be included as part of the debate about gun regulation at this time. It serves to dilute the issue, unify and fight one fight at a time. Adding this to that will only divide and lessen the chances of change on both. Oh, and I see white privilege is feeling entitled to decide what issues are most critical and their solutions based on personal experience or benefit, without regard for the suffering, oppression, and consequences of communities outside of your own. Ooh, Mike, she checked your privilege. Damn. Wait, Emma experiences white privilege? Emma opposes police in schools. This is Emma Gonzalez, the bald girl. Emma opposes police in schools because of bias, but the media doesn't highlight that. Also, there's a specific, documented problem with officers in schools disproportionately targeting black students. Black students deserve a direct platform where their issues and voices can be heard. Yes, just arm the teachers. Targeting students, like she admits targeting crews with bullying repeatedly. That's true. Emma Gonzalez admitted to bullying or ostracizing crews in middle school, and then she justified it by saying, "You didn't know this kid." Except that didn't happen. He was ostracized by classmates because he was violent and scared them. Stop blaming the victims. Or, well, I just want to say ostracized is, it's a form of bullying. Again, they're playing semantics. That's the worst thing you can do to a student, is to socially isolate them. That's the worst thing you can do to a young kid. And he was a weirdo. I mean, he was in and out of foster care, came from a broken family, no father. And yeah, he stole mail. He hurt pets. He was nuts, but he was never arrested. They weren't arresting him. He does, especially for stealing mail. That's a felony. You should be arrested for stealing mail and have a record, and then he never would have bought that gun. Again, the local police absolutely failed. So forget the local Broward police. They're corrupt. Arm the teachers and arrest people for petty crimes or felonies when they commit them. That way they have a record and they won't be able to buy a gun. So I'm just going to respond to this one. You're right. He was violent, tortured animals, and he stole his neighbor's mail, which is a felony, but he was never arrested by the corrupt Broward PD. Had he been arrested, he would have never passed the background check to buy his gun. She's gonna when she reads that. They ostracized him because he was mean. What kind of mental gymnastics is that? He was picked on, took a bunch of Prozac, told everyone he wanted to be a school shooter, then did it. He's right. He was reported multiple times to the Broward police and the FBI. School did nothing about it. Police did nothing about it. FBI did nothing about it. And nobody stopped him. Something is definitely wrong there, and it's not an inanimate object. There's a pretty base comment there, Lewis. I'm not sure what is so hard to follow. He was violent to multiple students, proudly killed animals, and had been expelled for stalking a female student. Why wasn't he arrested? Why didn't he have a record? The only person who targeted Cruz and bullied him was his own brother. His victims were not the problem. That's not true. Again, it's not true. Emma Gonzalez admitted to ostracizing him, and they were mean to him. I mean, come on, you know how kids are. I know how kids were. I was bullied, and I was, at times, the bully. Glad to see this. I hope these students will also press for inclusion of domestic gun violence, which is a major source of death for black, brown women, and girls. This whole movement's going to fall apart. It's going to turn into this huge hodgepodge of different causes on the social justice hierarchy. Black children must not press for inclusion. They must press to disrupt exclusionary white spaces. Ooh, this movement's gonna go down in flames. To clarify, I was referring to black activists, including the issue of the domestic violence when speaking about how gun violence impacts that black community. Domestic violence is so closely connected to mass shootings that it should be coming up all the time. You know, I'm not... Yeah, I'm not... That's actually a decent comment there. Domestic violence, bullying, problems at home. It's got to be looked into. I mean, when the system fails, you get school shooters and mass shooters. Yes, and definitely not talked about is that gun violence affects black men more than any other group of people. 92 plus Americans die each day from guns. Most are not in mass shootings. Yes, that is very true. Very true. Nor are they with legally obtained guns. Yeah, again, very true. You're going to get a likable little heart there for you. I got to tell you, the white liberals, white upper-class liberals, are absolutely not the best spokesmen for gun violence in the black community. Absolutely not. They are going to be at each other's throats soon. And a lot of black people, I think, are going to wake up to the fact that, hey, I can't trust the system. We've never been able to trust the system. The best thing that a black man can do, and especially a black woman can do, is to arm themselves and take their own safety into their own hands. All illegally obtained guns in the U.S. were at some point obtained legally in one of the states. The laws vary from state to state. There is no magical illegal gun factory in the sky. I don't see any evidence for that. A gun, if it's legally obtained, you know, it gets stolen, and then it's illegally obtained, and then it gets sold in the black market multiple times over, which are more and more illegal guns. Exactly. Not only were illegal guns legal at some point, a lot of mass murders and single murders were committed with legally obtained guns. Fewer guns in society will mean fewer gun deaths, period. Well, just like they get the drugs, they will get the guns, and it is very unfair to disarm law-abiding citizens just because you want this short-term sense of security from a system that you already claim is racist and biased against you. I was with gun reform, but this, come on now. I get you don't like having so many cops, but isn't a gun in the hands of a trained cop better than on an untrained teacher? Well, you get specific training for them. That's what's good. Choose your battles. We won on getting the attachments banned. Don't fight having a more secure school. Well, you haven't won yet on those attachments. The Gun Owners of America is fighting it, the bump stock ban, and maybe I'll do a video on that to go into further detail about the slippery slope of banning the bump stock. What don't you understand about a larger police making them feel unsafe? Well, explain it to them. Because now it's not about having a safe school or guns. Now it's about Black Lives Matter and police brutality. Yes, the movement is losing its definition and identity. I'm with anyone willing to speak their opinions, but dang, now again, another issue already? Don't knock down the idea due to other police negligence. Yes, now, why should they have to wait until you are ready to talk about what is affecting them? And always checking your privilege. A higher police presence doesn't always equal safer for black students. Now, let's see, on the privilege pyramid, he's not white, but he's certainly lighter skinned than this guy. So, Brian here has more privilege than Clayton. Better check yourself, Brian. Oh, oh, a lovely white couple, what do they say? We know how this works and kids are right. Videos, lack of charges and convictions. We need better police, trained to recognize unconscious bias, how to de escalate, shoot as a last resort, even if it means more police die, like that freshman did. Until then, it's a danger to people of color. More training is better. The statement about even if it means more police die, it's kind of a morbid thing to say. These people have families, children at home, don't want to be so callous. When can we all just be Americans? When can we all just get along? Agree with you, Jamaican. What is this? Jamaican. Taylor L. When America allows us all to be that way, because apparently Taylor here is oppressed. Y'all ask this all the time as if America has always just been set up for us to all be Americans. It wasn't Ask America, don't ask these kids. It's 2018, Taylor. I mean, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. Just if you went to a time warp back then and lived in one of those segregated communities, if you went back to 1950 Selma, you'd probably be begging to come back to 2018 America. We've made progress, and yet that never seems to be recognized by certain people, certain activists on a certain side of the political aisle. It was white Americans who proposed and passed all civil rights legislation. Does that count for anything? No, Jamaican, it doesn't. Oh, no, because they were the only ones allowed the power to do it, and had to be dragged kicking and screaming by the direct action of people of color. It wasn't some gracious gift bestowed by the benevolent. Well, actually, it was. I mean, white people had all the weapons, they had all the political power, they had all the monetary power. If they wanted to, they could have exterminated every single person of color. But it was not in the majority of white people's nature to do that. You see genocide all over the world throughout history, but white Americans did not want to do it. They've always wanted to better America for everybody. I mean, if America was controlled by Middle Eastern Muslims or communist Chinese, what would have happened to black Americans if they rebelled against them? It probably wouldn't have ended very well. It doesn't matter what you want people to listen to. If you don't present it with the right attitude, people will not want to hear it. It's very true. Very true. It doesn't matter how polite I am. If somebody doesn't want to hear something, it's very hard for them to hear it. If someone also benefits from not hearing something, it is nigh impossible. Too often, politeness is an excuse for not listening. Please listen. Well, you have to make good arguments. Not everyone's going to listen, but the whole point is for the people that do listen, you plant seeds. You plant seeds of reason. And if they're wrong, they're seeds of doubt. And then you get them thinking. And yeah, it's a slow process, but it's better than taking to the streets, getting violent, rioting, destroying property, assaulting people. I mean, that's really, it's either you reason or you get violent, and violence doesn't end well. One side will lose. We need to listen to the kids, all of them. Someone, please think of the children. Every single one has a point of view that matters and can contribute to making our society better. I've been following the pro-Second Amendment Parkland kids. We have to start hearing every voice. You listen to the kids, yes, but if they don't make a good point, no matter what side they're on, you're going to tune them out. That's just human nature. The brain can only put up with so much. Just so we're all clear, the group of pro-Second Amendment Parkland kids includes Cameron Kasky, who has specified that he does not support repealing the Second Amendment. Oh my God. I don't think so. He's been kind of a dick to the other Second Amendment kid, that Kyle Kashouf. They've all said they aren't going for repeal, but I was specifically referring to kids like Hunter Pollock and Patrick Petty, who lost sisters but are on the other side of the gun debate, which is their right, and we should listen to the changes they want as well. Yeah, I mean, we listen to David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez, who are screaming for all sorts of gun control, but Hunter Pollock and Patrick Petty, they actually lost their sisters and the shooting, and they're saying, look, it's the police that failed us, it's the system that failed us. Going after the guns is just a political distraction. It's not actually cutting to the heart of what led this troubled kid to come in and shoot up their sisters. But they're not saying the narrative that the media and the activists want to hear, so they're ignored, dead sisters or no dead sisters. You can understand why. First off, look at this mess. Then, just the presence of police and the way they are reacting towards us today makes us not want to have them in or near the school. It would be unwanted harassment by police. This guy, what's he talking about? Oh, the Parkland shooter has received fan mail, donations, sexual photos while awaiting trial. Well, so did Charles Manson. There's people like that out there. That's why I like to own my own firearm, because there's some freaks out there. These folks nutty as a fruitcake. Like, for real, for real. Very true. Does everything have to be a racial thing? Isn't it enough that these young students have been trying to prevent anyone from being shot at school again? Now it's become a white versus black student issue? Yes, it has. Because it's a huge movement that's getting all sorts of media attention. And, everyone wants their piece of the public pie. There's money to be made. There's careers to be made. Names to be made. It is not versus, it's and. Why do white people see black people asking to be heard as such an affront? Amplifying their voices doesn't dampen anyone else's. Can't we just respect and listen? Well, let's be honest. If those black people don't agree with this white gun control movement, then they will be silenced. They're just noise. Blasphemy. Somebody's got to bitch about everything. Send the cops home and let that dipshit fend for himself if another shooter shows up. Damn. All children deserve equal protection under the law, except for the unborn, I think. Why do you think black children do not feel safe around cops? Is it police in general that is the problem? What if the presence of the police are black and not white officers? Will that make a difference? Or will they still feel unsafe? In my opinion, it's all police in our society, regardless of race. More force is used towards people of color in our society from all police. We need reforms in dealing with those who abuse power and reforms in training. Okay, this guy's against police. This is precisely why the Second Amendment is so important. So, you can't trust the police. You can trust your own damn self. And your side piece. Little red pill dropped in that tweet. Of the community, insofar that they can regain the trust of all. If people do not have faith in the institutions that are there to serve them, there is a problem. And evidently America has a problem. Well, yeah, America has a big problem. And we have the media and these massive conglomerates that own the media sowing discord among the people. I mean, when they're fighting over these social issues, they don't trust their institutions, they don't trust their police. Then they can be robbed blind and have their jobs shipped out and cheap labor shipped in, and no one notices it because they're fighting over gun control. Thanks for sharing. Otherwise, I would not have ever known about this press conference. All this extra and misdirection. Again, is anyone paying attention to what the black youth are saying at this press conference? Will you support them? Yeah, I support them. They should be heard. I mean, if they're only wanting to be heard because they're black, that's kind of empty. But if they have something to add to the conversation, especially if it's not necessarily a pro-gun control argument, if it's something a little more nuanced, something that doesn't just line up with the dominant narrative, then I'd be very interested in listening to what they have to say. Oh, here's Claire. Let's see what Claire has to say. Oh, okay, no bio. What I heard was that having more officers present at the school doesn't make them feel safer. It actually puts them on edge. because experience has taught them that they will be targeted because they are black. Experience or just media rhetoric? I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes. These kids have the right to feel safe at school, too. Say their names. March for our lives. Young, old, black, brown, white, yellow, red. We must find a solution to all gun violence. Let's start with those who are killed at disproportionately higher numbers. Americans of color living in our inner cities. Our march in St. Louis recognized all victims. Yes, Clowder, but when you say all lives matter, that's considered racist. Now it is. You gotta say Black Lives Matter. You gotta say transgender lives matter. You gotta say cisgendered white women who identify as unicorns matter. You can't say all lives matter anymore. Gosh, you wouldn't think there were any black kids at the school given the media coverage. Glad to see this. I gotta give him a point. I mean, well, David Hogg is a white poster boy for the gun control movement. I believe any cop entering a school with a mix of races will gravitate towards targets that are non-white. It's just the way it is. You think, you believe. I don't know if there's any evidence to back that up. Here's why people still struggle to come together. A movement is happening. Then someone else starts going all squeaky wheel and distracts people. Almost always, more police equals safer. Do we want a safer school or to be on TV? Focus. Check your privilege, my dude. Ooh, damn. Check your privilege. And that was said to you by a white woman. Not just a white woman, but a reader, a writer, a baker, and a patriarchy smasher. Ooh, shit. Safer schools with police equals black students feeling unsafe. Say what? That's the left for you. Yes. Yes, it is. 2 hearts. Leon the cat. I am the white mother of a mixed son who attended a diverse high school. After all of the things I have heard and witnessed at my child's school, he's 24 now, I understand the concerns of these young black students. Well, usually mixed race kids get bullied by both the white and the black kids because they don't really fit into either side. We all know that whatever policing or changes that were implemented to protect kids will soon be used exclusively to deal with black and brown students deemed problematic. Another white woman, computer nerd on a mission to seek nerd-like adventures elsewhere. Dang, oh, she knows all about minority problems. Notice the white cat ladies are the most opinionated on racial issues. I was at the march in D.C. A couple of the speakers did mention police violence. Just reading the news each day is enough to know they have legitimate concerns. I hope they are heard. If you're consuming corporate news and just believing everything you read and not thinking that it kind of tilts your view on reality, you're an idiot, Carrie. I think it's long past the time we should have been listening and acting on their behalf. Arrest Sheriff Israel. Negligence, or dereliction of duty, a criminal negligence. I mean, that guy's... He didn't arrest Cruz when he had so many warning signs and complaints. Wow, these children speaking knowledge, so proud of them for bringing this out. Yes, I saw this. I'm desperately hoping they can take over a big part of the conversation, says another white woman, microbiologist, depressed person, Democratic, grassroots volunteer, and nope, not a Catwoman, she owns a plant. This is going to be good. A bald white woman who's into sci-fi, I think. I figured you'd already seen it, but had to make sure because they're such important voices in the whole conversation. I absolutely agree. CNN just tweeted about them too. Oh, CNN, fake news, I love them. Working together will only help everyone. Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Hell yes, raising awareness. Oh, the white power sisters, all woke. Roxy here. Oh, Roxy, this is your intersection. Make it happen. Can we get the Twitter account or names for these kids? We don't help spread their message if we don't know who to follow. Personally, I see this as 2 separate parallel issues. No reason we can't support both together. Well, it depends what the black kids are actually saying. I mean, if they don't agree with the white gun control kids, they will be silenced. About time they brought the other students to the forefront to be heard. Oh, this movement is crumbling. I'm in awe of all those special young people. I hate the reasons they have to become activists, but I'm so helpful for the future for everyone because of the strength of their voices and their courage to stand and their bravery to push back. I mean, bravery, it's like no one's shooting at them now. I thought the march did a great job of saying that it wasn't just school shootings, but gun violence to everyone. Didn't a speaker even mention unjustifiable shooting by cops? I do think this needs, gun violence to everyone. But they disinvited or banned the kids who lost their sisters, but didn't support gun control. They wanted to focus the reform on the cops and the FBI for not arresting crews ahead of time despite a multitude of warnings. Professor Sully here, implicit biases are real and have lasting impacts, which is why we can never support arming teachers and need to push for continuous education among service workers of every kind, medical personnel, teachers, administrators, and yes, law enforcement. No, armed teachers. Teacher will whip out a gun and shoot. And a good cop and a proper sheriff would not order his deputies to stand down and hide. College educator. Someone who just lives in a bubble. Humanitarian. Lover of dogs. Because you don't have no man. And an advocate for positive change in 2018. These people live in a fantasy world, man. The world can be tough. An armed society makes a polite society. Another great NRA quote. Making the school and students the opposition will not help your case. Fox News will get a hold of this and make it as if you are not fighting together for the cause. I went to Washington, and the issue you said was not covered, was talked about, and stories were told. Do not do it. The boogeyman, Fox News, will come for you, even though Fox News is just corporate news, just like CNN. You guys are being played. In this day and age, they have every right to feel this way. If they aren't being heard, it's due to willful ignorance. Imagine the trauma of being so untrusting of cops with guns that you would rather take your chances with the unstable with guns. That is living black every single day. Arm yourself. Train yourself, arm yourself, protect yourself. I really don't get why all this additional police presence is necessary. If everyone in the school knew who the shooter was as it was happening, wouldn't it be better to bring in psychologists and do a case study on the student body? It seems to me it's better to be proactive. So, psychologists, social workers, not cops, not armed teachers. Just more service workers. Please listen to them, says another white woman. Cool old liberal. So they want protection, but not from the police, and they want the good guys to give up their guns. Makes sense. Yes. Oh my god, just quit already. You wanted action, you got it, and now you are going to cry about it? Just stop. Unless you have a better answer, just stop. I can understand his frustration. All points of view need to be heard, but I hope they don't allow themselves to be divided. Moving forward, unified is the best way to achieve progress. I hope they are divided, Martisha. I really do. Because it's a disingenuous movement. They're not focusing on the real problems. Lack of federal funding for mental health, lack of insane asylums, and lack of aggressive policing on petty criminals, which are warning signs of a future school shooter. Speak, ladies, we are here for you. Give me a break. The only reason to fear... it's the Trump. To fear the police is if you intend to commit a crime. More grandstanding. Well, that's not necessarily true, though. I mean, there are corrupt cops out there. And there are negligent cops like Sheriff Israel. I mean, that's scary. He told his deputies to stand down. He didn't investigate crews. He didn't investigate crews. He didn't act on the warning signs that were clearly reported to him multiple times. So, I mean, that's just a failure of the system there. If our country worked properly, there would be no guns within 1 mile of school zones. And turning our schools into prisons is not the answer. More people are killed by white men. They have the facts on their side. Legislation, legislation, legislation. See, that school was a gun-free zone. The gun was not allowed within, on the school premises. It probably was not allowed. I think it's not allowed within 500 feet of a school zone, but within a mile, a criminal Cruz would have just ignored that. Stupid, man, you're stupid. My question is, if the claim is that police presence makes African Americans feel less safe rather than more safe, what would make them feel more safe? I agree with the poster asking for an alternative solution rather than just saying this solution is only good for Caucasians. Alright, well, this is going on too long, but you can see the movement starting to fall apart. The whole social justice pyramid is starting to collapse on it. It's being divided along race. They've already censored competing narratives and ideologies outside of upper-class white progressivism. It won't be long before it completely implodes into infighting and name-calling. And David Hogg will probably call a black kid a racial slur before this is over. Demon out.